Hey, welcome back to my shop. I'm Randy Wade. Today we're going to repair a CSI water pump, electric water pump. A friend of mine has got a race car, brought this to me, asked me if I'd take a look at it. The impeller's all seized on it. Um, I'm not really sure why, probably a bearing frozen up, but we'll take a look at it. But um, if you, there's not a lot of parts available for these either, so you'll find I'll identify the bearings that I used and some parts to fix it. So, but they're worth taking the time to try and repair this yourself. Um, I couldn't find any parts kits or anything online. This company, CSI, I think it's changed to like CSR now, I think I don't know if they're related or not, but there's a company, CSR, that makes similar pumps. This particular one is for American Motors. Um, and they're crazy expensive for what they are. I mean, this is like a 400 something dollar pump. So it's worth it to try and repair it yourself if you have the capability. So anyhow, that's what we're going to do today. I hope it helps somebody out there. Anyway, enough of that. Here we go. Let's get started. All right, so today I've got this CSI water pump. It's a friend of mine from his race car, but it's like the motor's like the impeller's like it has a little bit of play, but it stops. My guess is maybe it threw an armature winding or something, and it's caught in there. Not really sure. He tried to get it apart. He couldn't get these screws out of here. So what I did is we're gonna take my set. These are Allen drive. As you can see my set here. You see how long I've had them. It was $15.29, and these are SK tools, so I've had them for a while. But anyways, the smallest one in here, which is 1/8 inch, it fits, but it's just a little loose. I was a little afraid to do it. So it turns out these are metric. So I found a socket or a Allen wrench that would fit in there with my metric ones, and I was able to break this through. Now these things are in here. They must have put a lot of thread locker on it. Anyways, I got that one loose. But these guys, the reason I've done this is you can see how I've set this up. I took my Allen key and I put it in these vice grips. That way I can get some really good leverage on it. And that's what I needed, because this thing was like, that first one was a bear. Hopefully I can get these other three loose as well. So I want to make sure it's all the way down. And I give it a good, you heard that one crack loose. Let's get this guy. Same kind of thing. And I kind of wiggle it, make sure it's all the way down. This one's a problem. This one's a problem. I'm twisting my wrench. This one is a problem. Oh, no, I take it back. It's coming out. It's coming out. We're good. All right, it's really tight. Holy smokes. I thought I was twisting the Allen wrench for a minute. Okay, here's the last one. Hopefully we get it. And it broke loose. Okay, good. So that, they obviously did not want this thing to come loose. So, all right, since I've got them all broken loose, I don't feel bad about going to a little smaller bit, but I use this to get them out of there a lot faster, right? There we go. It's a time saver for sure. All right, so let's see what we get. Take these ridiculously long screws out. All right, now, so the motor separates here and here. I don't want to do anything barbaric, but I need to separate that right there. All right, I got this heavy putty knife in there, knocked it in there a couple times. I was able to loosen this up, and that's as far as it'll come back. We'll have to, it's probably captured on that bearing. So we'll have to get that bearing off of there. So we'll need to do that with, well, wait a minute. It's coming. There it is. All right. That's, actually the brushes don't look too bad, but there is a little bit of corrosion on the side. But why isn't this motor turning? Okay, so here's the bearing. This will go into the housing back over. We'll make sure we put that back together. So let's see, why isn't this, what is stopping this from rotating? I don't see what it is. It's something between the shaft and this front housing. So how is this thing kept on here? Some sort of retainer. Magnet ring. I want to make sure we keep that clocked properly. Motor looks pretty good. Commutator looks good. Don't know why this is like not rotating in here. Don't know why that is. All right, so it turns out, I put this in a vise, it turns out that the impeller unscrews counterclockwise. So that exposes, we've got some sort of a bearing and seal in here. I think I know how that works. Okay, that'll come out of there. I'll get a pick on that and pull that out. And we'll see what we can do to replace the bearing and seal, see if we can find parts for it. All right, so I just knocked that out of there. This is the end of the shaft, and that's the bearing. Obviously the bearing is the bearing is destroyed. So we'll see if we can find a new bearing for that. The seal, I think we might be able to save. All right, more to come. All right, now I'm just going to clean up that shaft a little bit. I'm going to have to put a puller on there, but there's rust on the bearing on the shaft. And then we'll put some penetrant on there. Put some penetrant on there and see if we can find a little puller to pull that off there. All right. So I'm looking on this, my magnifier here, trying to read the part number on the bearing. It does say China, and I just found a spot that I be able to scratch off. I think I got it cleaned up enough. You might be able to read that one. All right, I kind of got it started here, and I'm gonna tighten these guys up. We're gonna hold it with that. It's 8mm wrench. Well, looks like I'm getting under it. Under the bearing there. You can see down. I just want to make sure this son of a gun is tight, that's all. I don't want it to slip off of there because I think I'm probably only going to have like one shot at it. All right, that's pretty tight. And so you can see I got them under the edge of the bearing, and you know, not by a lot, but you know, because I also got to be careful of these windings. I don't want to damage those windings or nick them at all. So, all right, here we go. And I want to put something in between there and there to look for maybe a little nut or something. Let me see if I can find a small nut to stick on there. All right, I just put a little nut in there. There wasn't a center drill on the end of this shaft. It was just flat. So I just put that on there. You know, let's give it a try. So I gotta crank it up now. And hopefully the bearing will come right off of there. And it's not gonna, I'm gonna lose my center there. I'm gonna have to take this apart probably and drill a little center spot on there to keep the compression shaft from slipping off. And so I didn't want to take this all apart to put a center punch on the end of the shaft, but look what I found. I'd forgotten about these. These are called transfer punches, and they're made for going through, putting a center punch through a piece that's already drilled to make sure that they line up. So I'm going to give that just a little tap because I've got this clamped in the vise. I don't want to tear anything up here, but all right, it should be right about there. All right, let's see how they got well, it's there. I'm gonna give it another little tap. I think that's more than I wanted. Okay, so we'll take it out of there and we'll put the screw back in it. In fact, I got it right here. I'll do it right here. Of course, you know, this is not a piece of precision equipment. It was like an import special, but as long as it doesn't walk while I'm cranking it, we're good. Oh, look at that. Oh no. Oh no. What's the worst thing that could have happened? It did, right? So the bearing came apart, but look, the inner race is still on the shaft. So now I've got more challenges ahead of me now. All right. I'll work on this some more. Bums me out. We might have to try and cut it off there, but I don't know how to do that without wrecking it. Well, surprisingly enough, after a little bit of effort, I was able to tap these down a little, these here and here, just tapped them slightly and tighten these up, and I was able to get up under there. And lo and behold, it looks like it's moving. I'm getting the inner race off. It's a lot of... I don't have a lot of leverage with this stupid little thing they give you. But, thank goodness, got that off there. What a devil. All right, that's half of it done. We'll clean that up and then do the other side. All right, we were able to get this. I had to use some leverage. I couldn't turn on this with my little hands. But anyways, we were able to pull that off of there. There, pops right off. Easy peasy, right? Oh, what a tooth. All right, so we got the bearings off, and we didn't damage any of the armature winding, so thank goodness for that. So, and we'll take a little crocus cloth or some very, very, very fine abrasive, maybe, like 600 grit or something like that, and just dress these commutator bars. This is the commutator, which commutates the voltage, from your brushes to the different windings as it rotates. The magnetism poles change, it rotates, magnetism poles. Okay, so anyways, we'll clean those up. They actually look in really good shape. I've seen some of these where they're just all like, it looked like it had been welded, they're all burned down and stuff like that. This is in exceptionally good condition, so it won't take much to just clean it up. We'll just dress it a little bit. And I got bearings, so I was able to get the proper bearings for it, these guys. I'm all fingers, all hands. So this is the guy, I can't read it from here, but it was a 608 RS, I think. And it's real popular. Apparently it's used on like a lot of good stuff, including skateboards. So anyhow, I got those, and they were pretty cheap, but so getting these on, of course, is going to be a little tougher. What we'll have to do is, when we get this cleaned up, we'll chill this down in the freezer, and I'll warm this up a little bit. Not a lot. I don't want to burn the grease out. It's got a rubber seals on both sides of it too. So maybe put it in the oven at, I don't know, 150 degrees or something for a little while, warm it up, and then we'll try and smack it back on there. All right, more to come. Now I'm going to clean the commutator up right now. So I got this is some 600 grit. I'm just going to, I've done these before and I've put them on a lathe, but usually when I've done that, they were in really bad shape. These just need a little touch up, a little dressing. So I'm just going to do that. Look at that, they're cleaning right up. You're just knocking some of that oxidation off of there. And of course it's discolored a little bit where the brushes rub, the carbon brushes. But this is all I'm going to do to it. I mean, it looks pretty darn good. I'm not gonna futz with it too much more. Maybe one more little quick go around, and that's it. All right, this is in good shape, and you want to check to make sure there's no debris in between the commutator bars either, like little pieces of copper or something, because obviously it's an insulator in there. It's epoxy, or this is probably HTP or some insulating plastic. But and that's another reason why we don't want to put a lot of heat on any of this stuff. So okay, I'm going to work on these shaft ends, and actually let's just see what this will do. 600 will do on this end. That might just clean up pretty easy too. Actually, and a couple little marks there, but I think that's all we'll need to do on these too. All right, back with you. All right, so here we go. We got the shaft all cleaned up on both ends. Cleaned up the commutator with some 600 grit emery, and also just kind of dusted it, cleaned up a little bit. So now what we're going to do, we're going to try and put this bearing on this end here. So let's see, we'll try. We got just a little bit of grease, not a lot. Probably just want to coat the inside of the bearing and that shaft. And then what I've got is a socket. And of course the socket is big enough that it'll go over the shaft without interfering. So this is where it gets dicey. You got to hang on to this thing. If you drop it on the floor, you run the risk of destroying the whole thing. So I'm trying to get this in here. And it looks like I got to back off the vise a little more. All right, I want to get it right up the center there. You nice to actually have a couple people helping with this, but you know how it is, right? That's not square. I want to make sure I get it square on there. All right, so I'm pushing right on the center race. And it's going. And I don't want to go too far. That's as far as I want to go. I might have actually gone too far with it. Okay, so it's on there. That was easy. So now we'll do the other side. All right, now we're ready to do the other side. We got this bearing on. We're going to do this side. Again, I'm just going to put just a little bit of lube on it, just a little bit of grease all the way around, like that. Sorry, I guess I was out of the video a little bit there. And the same on the bearing, just touch it, you know, don't need a lot. Now, again, this bearing goes on like this, and this actually has a little bit of a shoulder, so it's going to stay on there easily, much easier than the last one did. So I'm going to put my socket. Yeah, let's try and center it up in the vise. Now the back side here, the shaft protrudes from the end of this bearing just a little tiny bit. So I'm pushing on the shaft. I'm not pushing on the bearing that I installed in the rear. Okay, here we go. So if I can get it centered up a little bit here. And it's not. This is the dicey part where it'd be nice to have somebody helping you a little bit, but sometimes you don't have that luxury. Just need to go down just a little bit. I think we're on it. All right. Now I don't want to push this on too far. There's some witness marks. I think I'm going to stop right there already. Let's see where the witness marks were the old one was. All right, wipe that off there. And I'd say we're on it. I'd say we're on exactly where the other one was. Looking at the gap on the bottom side, it looks about right. So we're good. That was easier than I anticipated. So now we're going to start reassembling this. All right, so let's look at this thing here a little bit. So this is the motors. This is the motor side. This is the impeller side. But obviously, it needs to have a seal on there. Well, if you just had just a rubber seal, now the bearing obviously is a seal bearing, it's got rubber in it, but it, you know, you can't rely on that, especially with, you know, remember this is your radiator system, cooling system, so it's under pressure and heat, so you can't rely on just that. So what they do is they use a frictionless bearing, and if you can see that, see how reflective that is, how shiny that is. So that, there's a spring in here, this seal assembly, there's a spring in there which forces this up against the backside of the impeller, and you can see where it rides on there. You can see where it's been riding. So that when this is pushing up against there, it's very close tolerance, so it can spin easily and still provides a seal. So it's the same thing they use on like the early style jet skis. There is a carrier bearing on the shaft that goes through the hull from, you know, obviously from where the engine is to the jet drive. And, you know, again, same kind of thing. they use these frictionless bearings to keep the water from coming in, obviously, and flooding out the jet ski. So this is the same principle. I don't have a lot of experience with these, but I do know what it is. So now this was in here, just like this, when I took it apart, and I hope I can snap it back in there. All right, it took me a lot of work, and I wish I probably should have had it on video, but I was able to pop that in there, and if you can see, it moves in and out a little bit. And I don't know. I tried. I'm sorry. I tried contacting the CSI, and there is no parts available for this thing. And if there are, they're not going to tell you about it. Send the pump in, and we'll fix it for you. Or if we don't, and if we can't, we'll sell you a new one. So, just be careful with this thing because I think it's very fragile. But I got it back in there, and so then we've got the motor shaft. And of course, it's threaded on the end here for the impeller to slide on, and the bearing just fits into this hole. So here we go. We can put it back together. Fits in there nicely. Okay. And then the bearing just threads on there, and when it threads on, it compresses on that seal and that spring a little bit to give you that watertight seal between the motor and the pump assembly. So I'm going to put, I don't want to put Loctite on it, but I'm going to put just a little dab of silicone on there so that if it ever needs to be taken apart again, it can with a little bit of resistance, but you won't have to try and break it loose with heat or anything. All right. Okay, so what I did was I just went, and you can see here how much more reflective this is. Let me see if I get it. This was all dirty. I just took my little Dremel and just buzzed around it and cleaned that up. I put a little spot of silicone on the end there, and that's all there is. We're putting her together. So this just goes on here like this. Threads down onto the motor. Until it stops. We'll give it a couple of snug jerks, and that ought to be it. And so that spring is holding that. That spring is holding that bearing and stuff. So with the spring with the seal on it. So it's riding on the seal. All right. So we got the worst of it done now. Yeah, we're on the seal there, that's for sure. All right. So now, get into the back side of it. This thing here pops over the end of the motor, goes into the back of the motor housing, and then of course these brushes, we'll talk about those in a few. That's a whole problem itself, but I wanted to show you this thing here. This is a little spring, and they call that, you see it? They call it a wave spring for obvious reasons. And what that does, I'm just going to clean it off a little bit before I put it back in. What that does is that just puts a little forward pressure on this bearing to slide it so the armature is pushed up tight against the front of the housing. That's all it's used for. And it's not a lot of pressure. It doesn't have to be a lot. And I'm going to wipe this guy out here too. This is just a rubber, just a cushion to fit in the back of the motor housing. So there goes the wave spring back in there. And we'll just pop that on like this. Some cops all the way around. And of course the spring is pushing it out. So okay, we're good. All right. So that's done. Here, I can show you the spring moving here. there a little bit. All right. So now we get to the tougher part. Let me open this up a little bit here. The tougher part, which is this guy. Okay, we got to put this back on. Well, I'm ahead of myself. We got to put the magnet ring on first, and then this guy. But as you can see, we got to be able to hold all of those brushes back, all 4 of those brushes back out of the way, slide it over there, and then and then release them so they rub up against it. So there's a trick to that, and I'll get to that here in a few. This one I think I can do. I think I know how to do this one too. So, okay, more to come on that. All right, so when my friend removed the water pump, he just snipped the wires on it. I'm not really sure why. Maybe there's a connector right there. I'm not really sure. But, you know, they're kind of dried out and crackly. And so I'm going to go ahead and replace those with some different wires. But just a quick tip. Obviously, it's a DC motor, right? So a DC motor, if you change the polarity, you know, the plus and minus, if you switch them back, you know, reverse them, the motor's going to go in the opposite direction. That's just a DC motor, and most of them work. So, so where the black wire comes in and connects here, I'm just going to put a black Sharpie mark on that guy, a big one, so I'll see it, and then I'll pull these wires out of here. I'll make some long pigtails for them and put it back together. There's a little rubber thing comes right out of there like that you can capture the wires in. I'm going to try and reuse it. So, okay. I'll make some pigtails. We'll get back and we'll start looking at this thing closer. So I wanted to make the leads longer. So I got this, you know, I got a couple of lengths of wire here. And there's a little rubber grommet thing. I was able to snip the old wires and pull them out of there and push these in. I just want to show you so this is use a spade connector to connect to the brushes here. But, you know, these things I see guys, they flatten them out with a hammer or something, I don't know. But you really need to use a good pair of crimpers. These guys here, let me find the right die for it. Let's see, and it's got to be turned around that way. There it is. So these guys here, I mean, they will put a phenomenal crimp on. They're like the real deal. They'll get the wire in there and give it a good squeeze down like that. Really squeeze it home. And then when you're done, there is a crimp that ain't coming off of there. This is, you know, this is the professional way to do it. These guys here, there's a Nipex brand. They're made in Germany. I'll put a link to them if you're interested in them, but they're worth the extra few dollars you pay for them. I've had these for quite a while, and they're the best ones I've ever had. I had Klein ones for a while. They didn't do anywhere near as well as this. All right, so we're gonna feed this through and hook these up. All right, so now we're getting into the meat of it here. So this is the end plate with the brushes. Obviously, I'm gonna just, you know, there's some dirt and dust in there. I'm gonna clean that out. Just some hairs and stuff caught in there. All right, so, you know, we've got to take these brushes and retract them all, and they gotta flip this over. Let me see if I can back out of this a little bit. We gotta flip this over and put it on there and make sure the brushes contact. So there's a trick to that. So you may not be able to see, but let me try and point out to you. I know this is a mess, so we're gonna clean up these brushes and stuff here in a minute. But on the sides, let me find one here. On the sides of these brush holders, you'll see a little tiny hole. See if I can get up there. A little tiny hole on both sides. All of them have the same thing on the end. And so what we do is we get the spring in there, And then we push the brush in there. And then we put a little wire through those holes to hold it all back. Do that for each one. And then we have these little wires hanging out. And then when we get it close to being assembled, we pull the wires out, and then the springs all, press the brushes in. So this is kind of a mess. And, it's obvious which brushes go into which holder, but the springs, you have to play with these a little bit. So what I've got is, I'm going to push these back in here, and what I've got is some safety wire. This is like 20 thousandths, maybe. It might be thicker than that, I'm not sure. Safety wire, and I'm going to slide it in those holes. I checked the diameter, it'll fit in the holes, and basically make four little capture tees. And I'll show you that here in a second, how I do that. All right, so I found the easiest way to do it was I pulled all of those springs out of there except one. So I'll do one at a time. So if I pull this spring back, you can see it. And there's a slot on the side here, so I can take my little pick tool and hold it back in there, and then find the brush for this side, which is, of course, I buried it. And the brush will fit down in there. If I can get it started in the hole. Yes, this is very dicey. All right, so I got it started. Now I can take my pick out. So now you can see I got that going, right? Now I made these little wires so I can push. So therein lies the problem with these. You'll spend a lot of time doing this. It's very tedious. And when they're manufacturing this, they don't do it like this. They've got, I'm sure, some jigs or something that they use to aid in putting these together, but I don't have anything like that. All I got is my two hands. All right. All right. Now I want to hold that back and put this wire in. And I got it on the one side. Okay. There, so that guy is captured, right? Now I got to do it 3 more times for the other 3, and I'm just going to go around, do the next one, go around, do the next one. So here's this guy here. I'll take it with one of my springs, push the spring up in there. Get this guy started. All right, and now I'm going to put a pick in there. I got to go prepare another piece of safety wire. So, I just take my safety wire here, stretch it out a little bit, lop off a chunk, make a loop on it. Unbelievable. That thing just went flying across the room. Piece of safety wire. Loop on the end of it. I know this. I'm not doing a very good job videotaping this one tonight, am I? You might be able to tell. I'm not feeling very good. I've been battling a cold for a week, and All right, so there's another one. Okay, see, it's not that bad once you get the hang of it. And this guy here goes in there. Need a spring. And of course, the brushes will only go in one way. They because the wire that's connected to them has to slide down this little slot here. So, and I did it again, didn't I? I put that in there, and I didn't have a wire prepared to hold it, so I used my little pick. Make a piece of wire. Like that. In fact, I'm going to do two of them right now. Two of them. This is my original pair of wire strippers when I was an electrician, when I was like, I don't know, 24 or something like that. They've seen a lot of action. All right. So I'll pull that out of there. Get my, oh wow. This is getting easier as time goes on. Yeah, I get that brush out from under there. It's kind of there. My big old fat fingers are in the way an awful lot these days. All right, one left. And you can see those wires that I redid on this. I wanted to put some longer leads on it. All right. Now this spring has a little twist to it. It got bent when I did something to it. We'll try and take that out of there. I think we're good. All right. Oop, there it is. These little dental picks are pretty handy for a lot of stuff. Uh-oh. That one's gonna go. Missed it. Where's the hole? Missed it again. I need to push that down a little bit more, I think. Did I make the hole? No. I can't see it. That's not it. I keep missing it. Huh. There it is. I had to bend the wire a little tiny bit to get that one. Oh, and then I didn't put a loop on this one. Okay, so there. We've got all of the brushes retracted, the springs, the wiring's done correctly. Black mark was what I put on here for the negative side, and I got a black wire connected to that, so that's good. And that rubber isolator just fits down in there. I'm just gonna, probably should have done this before, but just wipe that out, make sure there's no crud down in there. All right. Now, You got this guy. Now I did the magnet. You know, you got to be careful with this thing. I set it down and it sucks itself right down to the armature. So now this should be pretty easy to do. Let's see if we can. Of course, the screws go through these holes, go through these guides on those. Let's see if this will work. I want to make sure I get that rubber. Oop, I felt it. Okay. All right. Now, I can't see in there. I get a little pen light flashlight. Sorry. I get a little pen light flashlight. See if I can see. Aha. And yes, the brushes are over. I know you can't see it, but the brushes are over the edge of the commutator. So that means when I pull these wires out, they'll stay where they're supposed to be. So here we go. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I want to make sure I don't let up on this. I gotta keep pressure on it, because if I lift this off, it'll come flying off there. So now I've got screws. Now I want to look at the orientation of this wire coming out of here. And as I recall, it was coming out the bottom. And let's see where I'm looking down the holes for the orientation holes in the magnet assembly. Okay, so now I just need to, I should have put a mark, an ink mark on this housing where those holes were, because now I got a fish for them. But that's okay. We can do it. All right. One more. Okay. So now I just have to rotate this until I find I got a picture of it. I should go revert to the picture. The clocking on this. Oh, this is horrible, isn't it? I really screwed the pooch on this. All right, I got to play with it to find. I'll put a. Wouldn't that be something if I lucked out right there? I'm gonna have to play with this to figure out. Oh, I think I was on something right there. I actually, I think I am. It was right there. All right, so I'm gonna get back to you. I hate wasting people's time. All right, give me a minute. All right, I just got done torquing everything down, tightening these old. I didn't torque them. I just got them good and snug. So I think we're good there. Flip it over. Let's see what it looks like. It's like, oh, it's got a nice feel to it, because I can feel the resistance from the magnets like a regular motor. All right, so let's see if it runs. I got a little 12-volt battery here. Let's see what it does. So orange is the positive. I want to make sure it goes the right direction, right? So let's set that over here like that. So there's black here. I got nothing. Is the battery dead? This battery might be Tango Uniform. All right, so it turns out that battery I had was absolutely flat. So, thank God for the Milwaukee M12 batteries. And if you use these things, take a look at this, right? Hold it like that. This is the negative side. You see that? Negative. I put a black Sharpie on it, so I do it on all of them so that I know, because I do this once in a while. All right, so that's because I want to make sure this goes the proper direction, because if you remember, the impeller shaft screws on there. So if I spin it the wrong direction, I could unscrew the impeller shaft. All right, so I'm going to hold on to this because it's probably going to jump. All right, let's see what we got. There we go. And it looks to be going the right direction. So that's good. All right, I think that's a good fix for this. So there you go. Save yourself, well, I don't know what the last one I looked at, $300 and something, $400. That mezzanine, whatever the hell they call themselves, like fucking $500 for one of these. It ain't rocket science. Guys build these things, and guys that are probably not as smart as you. So, we have the technology. You just got to be patient. Look at it. There's something you don't understand. Ask some questions. Do some research. This is a good save for my friend Mike, and I'll get it back to him and get him back on the track. So, all right. That's all I got this time. I hope it helps somebody. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. And I'm going to put links in the description for some of the stuff I use, the crimpers and the puller and all that. It's not exotic stuff, but it's what I use in case you wanted to get your own. All right. See you next time. So there you go. Got the CSI pump working again. It's all freed up. It's got new bearings in it. I'll put a link to the bearings, the proper bearings, in my description below, as well as the puller. You'll need one of those pullers. Now, the puller I got was this little, it's an Amazon. It's a cheapie. I agree, but I don't use them very often. I bought the cheap. I don't remember how much it was, but it was like really inexpensive. And then also those crimpers, which are really awesome to use if you do much wire terminations. If you do any wire terminations, you should be using some good quality crimpers, especially if it's on something critical like your race car, or your hot rod. So I'll put links to all that information into the description there, and so that helps me out too. If you buy something through one of those links, it helps me out a little bit. I'm retired now. I may not have said that in my other videos, but I recently retired from NASA, so I'm going to try and do more of these vids. And I know there's been some requests for some other videos on my fuel injection page, group, my fuel injection series, I guess I should say. So, but anyways, I hope this helps you out, save you a little bit of money, and maybe if not for this, the way I did it, it'd be very similar for other, whether water pumps, electric fuel pumps. Many of them are built the same way. So it'll give you a little bit of idea what you need to do to repair them. So again, I keep saying this isn't rocket science. So let's just keep these motors running and humming. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if any of this helps you guys out. I appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.